You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your number one source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's The Strain After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's The Strain After Show.
Riding
We had a plan.
Biting people feel so good. So good. So good. So good. Welcome to After Show. Folks, we're already having a good time here on the Strain After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. So happy that you're joining us. We're talking about Season 1, Episode 2, The Box. I'm Matt Lieberman, and joining me as always, the fantastic panels here. Stephen Lemieux is here.
Hey guys, Stephen Lemieux here. Follow me on Twitter at Stephen Lemieux, STPHNLEMIUX, and tweet at us during the show so we can shout you out and answer any questions you have.
Yes, and Zach Wilson's here.
Hey guys, you can catch me on Twitter. That's Zach Wilson. That's Zach with a CH, not like the Zach on the show who spells it wrong.
Yeah.
Oh.
And Jacque Borowski's here.
People also spell my name wrong. I'm at 123 Jackie_B, and that's Jackie spelled JACQUE.
Yes, and you can tweet me at Matt Lieberman, MATTLIEBERMAN. So we have our phones and our computers out right now, so if you are watching us live, you can live tweet us and interact with us during the show. We highly encourage your participation. And if you're listening to this tomorrow, which would be today for you, then you can watch us live next Sunday at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so you can join in the conversation with us as we're talking. So, folks, another great episode of The Strain. It inspired a lot of cool theories on our front when we were watching. There wasn't really a ton of action this week, but I feel like we had to have an episode to deal with the fallout of our massive pilot.
We did need exposition, too, because I feel we didn't get a lot of information in the last episode, whereas now we know more about the characters.
Exactly.
Well, we need more at stake, too, because like at the first episode, you really don't know too much about the characters, so you don't really care as much if they die or if anything happens. So kind of going into Ephraim's character and going into his relationship with his son a little bit more, and then kind of the politics between the CDC and what's going on there. We really kind of needed that, or honestly, why would we care when everyone starts dying?
Yeah, like I like F a lot more having seen this episode than I did last week. I mean, granted, he once again ignored a very important piece of evidence, but at the same time, it's got to feel pretty ludicrous that this guy is talking about his dead daughter coming back and him thanking him for his dead daughter coming back. I mean,
especially after he slapped him.
Yeah.
But you got to remember what I've seen at this point. He hasn't seen too much that's really unbelievable
Basically
yet.
just the worm and the crushed head. I mean, and it's also one of those like, okay, there's a reasonable explanation.
Live in New York.
This guy's nuts. This guy was nuts enough to slap him in the face.
Yeah.
Like for something.
He's very emotional. Of course, he's going to be seeing the ghost of his dead daughter.
I mean, it's a crushing emotional distress that he's under.
Yeah, well, so we start.
Thank you so much.
Hashtag Punjar.
Hashtag Punjar. So we start at this crushed head, at the scene of the crime, if you will, where the master crushed that dude's head last week. And once again, we've got ammonia. We've got some kind of guano or tick shit, okay, being excreted by Dracula.
Could have said poop, Matt.
No, that's what it said. I'm just quoting. I'm quoting the show. Yeah, we've got this crime scene. Everyone's pretty stunned, and there's this moment, this like very quick moment between Sean Astin's character and F, where he's like, we don't know necessarily that it was the virus that did it, and he's being very adamant that we don't know what this is.
It's a theory.
Yeah, F takes notice of it, and I think that's going to come back in next episode, or at least in a couple episodes.
To me, that was him hoping that it wasn't related. Like,
I'd agree.
It's not that he knows that it was and he's trying to dissuade them. It's like what did I do?
Yes.
Yeah, I really hope that I didn't cause this thing to go widespread, to go viral. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sean Astin, bad on you, buddy.
No, it's not him. It's the character.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sean Astin's character Bad on you.
Bad on you.
And you also threw up. Come on, man.
Yeah, man.
Get it together. You're in a vampire show.
You are a CDC guy. I know you're not a doctor.
I mean, I think it's a bit strange at first that they're not kind of
strange.
Yes.
Yeah.
STRAINGE.
Strange.
Yes.
Yeah. Like
that they're not more kind of like freaked out about this. Hey guys, we had this whole plane thing, and then there was a murder at the airport, and there's this bio goo everywhere, and a head that smashed in. Oh, it was just carbon monoxide poisoning on the plane.
I think F's team is appropriately worried.
Yeah.
I just don't think that the officials are appropriately worried because money's at stake. We all know that when money's at stake, you want to make sure that, imports and exports are still coming in so people are making money.
Yeah, when money's at stake, people forget about the truth. It's not as important.
So I got to ask real quick at this point, because what's going on and the truths are being blurred, do you think that F will use the media to kind of convey what's actually going on, or to at least try to?
Well, he's not really in a position, I think.
But
he's been suspended. There's evidence to the contrary. People aren't listening to him. He's going to look like a nut. Like I can't imagine. The burden of proof is on him.
Yeah. Plus, the leaked documents is a great story. What's his name? Help me out. The creepy.
Oh, Eichhorst?
Was it Eichhorst?
There's so many creepies.
It was Palmer. It was Palmer who said because the media, they latch onto a great story first, and leaked documents is a great story because it means they got something they weren't supposed to, and they got carbon monoxide.
But I feel they wouldn't have shown us that media scene and how bad he is with the media in the first episode unless he was going to attempt to use it later. And I think that's going to be his desperation move that kind of...
I feel the opposite. I feel if they're showing it that, it means that he's going to go underground and he has to work with Satrakian, who's now known as the most... I'm trying to think of what the phrases I'm thinking of, but he's the least credible person to everybody. So it's like if he's already going down this line where to the media he's seen as least credible, he has to go that underground route and just kind of figure, okay, nobody's going to believe me until I
and also it could just show instead of that he has to turn to the media, but that the media is not an option for him because he doesn't know how to field it and because he doesn't have the proof. Until he has definitive proof of what this thing is and that it definitely killed these people, mind you, who are now no longer dead-ish, who are showing up back at their homes-ish. He's not going to be able to go back to the people unless he's got something that he can prove, and he doesn't.
Yeah, as the people worm their way in. But my question...
Worm.
The reason I say this is because he's not very smart. I mean, he's not very intelligent when it comes to that, so I feel he would use it as a last-ditch effort, but it'll backfire on him because at this point, we need the Master and we need everyone with stone heart to know of Ephraim's existence.
Why do we need that?
Because that's what's going to drive the story forward, is them knowing that he exists and he's researching this. I don't think it'll be until episode 4 or 5.
I'm sure that they are aware of his existence. They seem to be very aware of the investigation. That's why they shut it down and leaked those documents.
But I don't think I think what Stephen's saying, they're not as attached to him personally. He's just the CDC team that happened to be covering.
They think they're done. They think they've released these papers and it's going to be done with. So I feel like everything's going according to plan since they did release people, because they'd expect people after these symptoms to show to put them back in a hospital.
Yeah.
But I don't think they expect people to pursue it further because once they're...
Well, that's why we need them to not know about him so that, first of all, F doesn't even know what this is yet. He doesn't know that it's vampirism, and really until he's aware of it and he starts fighting back, we don't necessarily need Stoneheart to be aware because they'll just kill him,
But I feel like that creates... the suspense.
I get it.
I think that's what Stephen's saying, and I agree. That's when he's going to go to the media, is going to be at the worst possible time for him. Like, he's going to think, like, I got the evidence, and they're going to see that and have exactly the right story to...
Well,
that's when they ruin his career. Yeah. That's when they go after his family. That's when things start moving forward where he has to start...
Fair,
really,
but we got a lot to cover. So what else is going on with him? First of all, he's investigating the worm. We got this really cool shot under the electron microscope. He's feeding it blood, and it gobbles it up and swallows it. And I feel like all it needed was like a tongue to go across because it loved it. It loved it so much. It would almost be an adorable pet, almost. And,
if it wasn't a parasite.
Right. And, Zach texts him once again. He's like, oh, he's worried about this custody hearing tomorrow. I'll deal with it later. I'm busy. I've got a virus to investigate.
You need to deal with it now.
No, I gotta.
You need to deal with it now. If Zach's the most important thing, and you're gonna give me a kiss in just a second, you have to deal with it.
Okay, but
Kiss, kiss, kiss.
Does anyone feel that him going in for this kiss is a little selfish?
Yes.
I mean, from the way that they seemed to talk about it last week, it feels like whatever affair they had wasn't necessarily recent, like it happened maybe a couple weeks ago or months ago.
And I feel like he's taking advantage of the fact that it's like this woman obviously has feelings for him. She's stepping in and saying, you got to do right by your son. She's trying to be the good, like, supportive person because she obviously likes him because he's our main character, and that's what happens.
Yeah. She's a good partner for him.
She is a good partner for him. And so him going in for that kiss is just like, oh, well, things are shitty with my wife right now and they're falling apart. So now I have you again and I'm just going to take advantage of that situation.
Hey, baby, we all might die. Let's bang a little beforehand.
And what, like, for television, I love it how the backup is always some hot chick. You're like, why is this your backup?
She's gorgeous.
This is amazing.
Mia Maestro, man.
His wife's pretty attractive too, though.
But that's what I mean.
His wife is crazy attractive.
In television, it's like, well, I have to deal with my attractive, angry wife, but then I have this attractive, like, backup. Like, what am I gonna do?
Because he has to justify it. He's like, you know what? I don't want to do this, but she's hot, so I'll have to do this.
Oh, brother. So he goes.
He's got the strain.
He goes to the house, and for those of you who aren't aware, the trees outside, people wrap their trees in the winter on the East Coast.
We don't have winter here, so we were all confused. We were like, why did the trees have problems?
You wrap them so that they stay healthy
too, and nobody in my neighborhood ever did that. I'm from
maybe like northeast coast.
For small trees and shrubs, you can do that so that they remain healthy in intense cold.
Maybe that's why all our trees died. But no, we didn't care enough about to do that.
They were cone-like, pines.
They were coniferous.
You don't have to wrap pines.
Literally made me think of
for the winter.
It made me think of Silent Hill. I was like, why are these trees wrapped? What is going on?
This woman clearly has more problems than just hers.
Yeah.
She's wrapping trees in her
She gets
spare
discounts
time.
from Sears on tree wrapping.
People. So his wife is following the case, and she obviously still cares about F. Like, there's still a lot of warmth in their conversation, and she's got her friend over, Diane. No,
Yeah, Diane.
Diane the biatch.
She's awful. She's like,
God.
Diane. And he's like, I know your name, Diane. She's like, I've never forgotten your name, F. We met 5 times. I've never forgotten
his name's
you.
a letter.
Yeah.
Hey,
I've never
F,
forgotten
it's not
you.
very difficult.
Hey, if you listen to the audiobook, it's Eve. So
She is so catty, that Diane.
And she's drinking wine. It's like, shut up.
I hope we never see her again. So
I hope she gets eaten by a Dracula.
Okay. By a Dracula? Is there more than one? We'll find out.
I gotta say, though, and I'm sorry for taking the low blow at the humor, though, but she's following the plane crash because, let's face it, when there's anything to do with a plane, the news cannot help but only cover that.
That's true.
Yeah.
True.
That's true.
So, in any case, F goes to the back room where Matt is converting his office into a playroom for Zach.
God.
And we're just like, oh, this guy, he has the best. Let me just say this, all right? Matt has the best of intentions, I think. He wants to make, Zach and F's wife, I forget her name and I feel terrible about it, happy.
Kelly.
And even, Kelly, and even F is aware of it. He sees it. But you don't go up to him and say, hey, someday, you know what? We're gonna be friends.
We're gonna be friends.
Also, they've only been dating for they've only been separated for like a year.
Yeah.
So for him to gut out a room and completely rebuild it
in the house that F is still paying off.
And you know what? Like, I can almost let the building of it slide, though, because maybe she wanted it to be built, and he's just being the nice guy. But like,
it seems like something he's doing to bond with Zach and to steal Zach away from F.
If they know that F is coming by, maybe he should leave.
Yeah. And you know what? I could see it as if, like, maybe she had talked to F about, let's convert this room sometime. I'm sorry. There's something I have wrong with. Okay, I understand the relationship's not going well, but I'm paying for this house. I will voluntarily move out and you can stay here with Zach. But are you freaking kidding me? You're going to have another man move in? It's like, no, get out of my house.
Well, he hasn't necessarily moved in. That's not what they said.
Well,
But you can't tear stuff out of my house without telling me about my house.
Yeah, they're setting her up to be a villain, and this is what I said last week. It's like they're not putting her in a very good position, and they're trying. I can see where she's like, "Oh, I'm watching your case on the news and whatever." But still, the position that they put her in for remodeling this whole room, you're like,
and it's his office.
Look, I'm not I think that that's a bit overstating it. She's not necessarily being a villain. She's trying to move on with her life and do right by her kid, who, dealing with his parents' divorce, among other things, deserves a playroom.
This is the other thing that frustrates me, because my father was in a similar line of work before he retired, and I'm sorry, but okay. You're lucky to have someone who has such a high-powered job that you get a house, that your kid can have a cell phone that he can text people with. You're lucky to have all these things, and
We don't know that she doesn't work.
She does work, but she doesn't have the kind of high-powered job that he does to be able to pay for a house like this. So the thing is,
reaping the benefits.
It makes me really frustrated because you have someone who you're punishing for having this kind of job, and it's not like he has a kind of job where he's not helping people. Like, this is a job in the service of the people.
And I understand that, but
and that's the thing. It's like, I mean, if the marriage isn't working,
right?
It's not. Don't stay together for the kid. That's only going to make
Well, that's not what they're doing.
I know, but like, that's only going to give the kid issues. So you separate. But what I think what Jackie's latching onto, and the problem with like the way that they're painting Kelly is not that, like, once you analyze it, it's not anything really terrible or anything. But the feeling, the emotions that come out of the scene, the way that she's portrayed, the way that it's directed and written, we don't like her at all. We want her.
Yes.
We like almost want her to get taken by Dracula. Like, because
I have none of these feelings.
I do. I agree with that.
But this is like she's becoming villainous. Like, we don't like her, but we should see her side a little more.
Okay.
I think, and there's painting her to be unreasonable, where it's like any person can see that he's working hard and he has the kind of job where he works for the people.
Let me say this. I feel like it's not necessarily about her character. It's kind of, it's a little bit of an artificial storyline. It's just to give F a reason, or to show us how difficult his life is right now and why he needs to be in AA. I think it's specifically to give him a struggle so that he can have that monologue in AA, and
he still wears his wedding ring, by the way.
He still wears his wedding ring. But it's really more than anything. She's trying to move on with her life, but it's really to showcase how hard his life is right now, even without this investigation. That, to me, is what that scene was wholly about.
Well, even her talking to him when she answers the door was very kind of awkward, because they're in such a weird position.
Yeah.
But we have this, we also get teased with him talking to his son, where he's like, I'm going for joint custody, manipulation.
Yeah, he's manipulating his kid too, okay? F is not 100% guilt-free here, okay?
But I think part of the problem is they're setting it up for this. This
custody
kid
battle
really should not be able to say anything. He's too young. He's 8 years old.
He should say something.
But
they do this all the time, though.
It's so cruel. I think it's the cruelest thing, because it's like you have these two parents. You can't have a kid make a decision like that.
But I feel like he has the right to say something. Am I wrong?
You mean not make the decision, but
to say, to at least have a voice in the discussion.
And you have to hear his side of things.
Yeah,
as well.
And he makes a very salient point where he's like, Dad, I love you, and I want to have equal time with you as I do with Mom, but you make all these promises and you never follow through. How am I supposed to be able to trust this promise?
You know what his dad should have said, which is what my dad would have said? You like your cell phone? You like your house? Well, that's how it gets paid for.
That's manipulation too.
It's not manipulation. It's reality.
That's even more manipulation. That's attaching it to physical
manipulation.
objects.
It's reality. That's how stuff gets paid for.
I would resent the hell out of my father.
Matt, how do things get paid for here at AfterBuzz?
I'll tell you. Things get paid for here at AfterBuzz TV because of sponsors, wonderful sponsors who help support us and keep our doors open and our lights on. Here at AfterBuzz TV, I say it every week, but it's the truth. We put out between 60 and 70 hours of free content a week. It's available on YouTube, on iTunes, on Stitcher, all over the world. 28 million people downloading, listening, and, how do you continue to support our enterprise? I'll tell you, it doesn't cost you a dime. It only takes a second. You go to iTunes, you rate and review the show. We love 5-star ratings. And it's the best way for us to attract sponsors sponsors to attract guests to the show, and it's also the only way that we know that we're doing right by you, the fans, and giving you the Strain After Show that you deserve. And you get a great shout out here on the show. And we got a whole slew of reviews this week.
Dude, they're wonderful.
We said we want 50 reviews by episode 5. I think we can do that because we have.
I think we can beat it.
On pace.
I think we can top it.
We have 16 ratings on iTunes and we have 8 reviews already. I'm going to shout them out really quick. The Dream Team, 5 stars. This is my new favorite AfterBuzz TV show. You guys are awesome. Keep up the great work.
By
Thank
who?
You, Johnny Boy 8986.
All right.
Noblest Dramana says, loving this panel. I haven't seen the panel before, but I really enjoy watching you guys and I'm loving the strain. Jim Lee 815 says, careful.
Ooh.
Of the Dracula references. This show, if it is true to the books, it will turn your whole view on vampires upside down. Like how bats sleep.
I'm excited. That's true.
Yeah. By The AZ is Right, we have good crew. The crew, they have been reviewing this show and entertaining and have some good insights. Mad Mimi 60, great podcast. Love this podcast, first off, because it has great hosts. Also, they seem interested as the show as I am. You guys, 5 stars by Reflex123. This panel is like a Helix reunion panel.
With me.
Yeah, or a Sleepy Hollow reunion panel.
With
it's really
Zach.
both. Yeah.
And they said they were turned off by the eye posters as well, put up all across the United States. And let's see, we also have by Steuven, which is me. I said not stroking my own ego here, but I love to host with Matt, Jackie, and Zach. It's the Dream Team special.
I thought that was cute.
Because I love you guys. And then Idlehand666, who apparently beat me to writing a comment. Love the show, great insight to strange stuff, very X-Files. And it's by Chris, who does the Attention Deficit Disorder podcast. Thanks, keep it up. Thank you so much.
And I'd also like to point out that these are all 5-star reviews.
They are, all 5 stars.
Thank
we have
you guys.
A 5-star rating currently, and we are the #1 AfterBuzz TV after show on iTunes consistently.
Every
and we
day,
were the
24/7.
number 4 TV and film podcast on iTunes this week, it's really, really an honor. So please keep it up. Please keep rating and reviewing the show. It really makes a huge difference.
And tweet us because we're working on guests.
Tweet us because we're working on guests, people. All right. So another thing that's going on, we had to release all of our quarantine people, all 4 of them, Joan and Gabe and Captain Redfern and the guy with glasses.
And nerdy guy with glasses. Who already looks like a vampire.
Yes.
I just looked at him and I was like, oh, dude, you're already a goner.
Bro, if you're not a vampire, something is seriously wrong.
I wonder if he was like, I want to stay, but I have to go. Was that somebody pulling his strings?
You think that might be the master in his ear, maybe?
I mean, we see that like it's starting in this episode, so I wonder if that was the beginning of it.
I feel like it might be changing their instincts. Like their instincts are kind of different because you notice that they don't. Of course, like if I was in this situation or if anyone was in this situation, if they survived this thing with like obviously something was crazy going on, and they start bleeding and their nose starts bleeding and their eyes are almost.
Go to the hospital?
Exactly. So their instincts are probably being towards. What?
Not necessarily.
Matt Lieberman does not like to go to the hospital when his nose is bleeding, his mouth is bleeding.
A lot of people live in denial, okay? And they don't want to go to the hospital. They don't want to spend the money. They may not have insurance. They may not care. And some people just choose not to get treatment.
Okay, he says they're dying.
That woman who...
Joan Luss.
Yeah, she clearly has good insurance. I mean...
Oh, yeah. But she just is... She's kind of mystified by the blood. She looks at it and she's like haunted by it.
Their instincts are changing.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into Gabe and Joan, I want to talk briefly about Captain Redfern, who's got the guilt of these 206 passengers on his hands, and he's upset that no one's looking for the truth, and F uses that to his advantage and is like, hey, man, you should go to the doctor, this private doctor. He's going to see you privately. He's going to do all these tests. If you want to help stop this thing, do your part. And thankfully, Captain Redfern is totally on board. And
Can I say something about this scene really quick? They really missed out on a character development opportunity here, though. We have Ephraim in a bar right now with somebody drinking, and we didn't get anything cluing into his alcoholism.
Trust.
Like, if we had gotten a scene of him eyeing him put the drink down,
Bring it.
True.
I would have really enjoyed to have that part of the scene.
And he didn't go into it in his AA meeting. Like he said, I passed by a bar.
Right.
He didn't say I was in a bar and
didn't drink.
Yeah.
But I mean, granted, at an AA meeting, you don't have to brag about all of your accomplishments.
I know. I just thought it was a missed opportunity for character development.
It's a very fair point. Granted, he's a year into his sobriety, but still, it's a nice opportunity for a subtle visual cue to what's going on internally.
Well, I also like thinking about.
What is face?
You were doing this thing with like your tongue on your teeth.
Oh, I felt like I had something on my teeth.
The reason I would have really liked that added to the scene, and I think they're still going to have this as a juxtaposition with the characters, is because you look at a character like Bolivar or whatever, and you look at Gabe, how they're changing.
Gabriel.
How they're changing and how they look at blood and how they look at it. It's something they need. It's an addiction. So I really would have liked the comparison, the parallel between his character and alcohol and the vampires with blood. I would have really enjoyed that comparison.
It still may happen. We don't necessarily know that it won't happen. But these tests come back and it's like nothing they've ever seen. Definitely terrifying. They also get the call from Emma's father, and he's like thanking him for returning his daughter to him, that she's alive, and F's just like, I don't know what to do with this, goodbye. And the dude hangs up on him. They also can't raise our buddy at the morgue, Buddy Bennett, and he's dead. Everyone's gone and everything's dead, and it's a big plate of bad news.
Bennett was eaten.
I'm very excited because I feel like next episode we're going to have to see the repercussions of morgue people coming out of the morgue.
True that. All right, I want to talk about Gabe and Joan and Ruby, Regina King's character that was introduced this week. Fantastic actress, and I'm always happy to see her pop up in places. Gabe and Joan are sharing a post-quarantine drink, as they deserve, and Gabe is trying to get Joan to come up and party with him in his pad above his theater.
10-pointer, man.
Yeah, man.
Hey, baby, we both got the strain. Now how about I get some of that strange?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Hashtag strange with an AI.
Yeah. And, Ruby is kind of like working with both of them. It seems like she's trying to get them a 30-minute interview on TV for $300,000, and
the airline will pay more.
Yeah, Joan's like, we're gonna get way more from our lawsuit. Let's just focus on this lawsuit. She is weirded out by the blood in her drink, and she leaves. Gabe, however, turns to Ruby, is like, pick out some hotties, some good ones.
And meanwhile, they're both experiencing this like,
humming,
this
which I'm just going to throw out there. So we're going to get into Abraham in a bit, but when Eichhorst is talking to him, he says the master is watching him through his eyes. Now, we talked about hive mind last week and how potentially all of the vampires are extensions of this one consciousness. And I'm wondering, if they say the humming is almost like a voice in their head, and I feel like it's that consciousness taking over their body.
And they say it's like an echo of a whisper, like it's impacting them and telling them to do things like that. It's kind of and you see when they put the black light over Abraham, the pilot, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
They see the worms in his face, and he can't feel them.
No, Redfern. Abraham is Satrakian.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay, my bad. They see the worms in his face, so you got to imagine the worms probably attach themselves to the brainstem and start putting messages, relaying the messages in, or
creating radio signals are sent over an electromagnetic frequency,
or maybe they're like the construction workers. They're converting, rebuilding, because
as they said again, it's like rebuilding all of the organs and turning them into something different. But I just want to say, the electromagnetic frequency of radio signals, we have electromagnetic signals coming from our brain to the rest of our body through our nerve endings. So it could be reconfiguring their nerve endings to communicate directly with this consciousness, with Dracula.
But I gotta say, though, I mean, not to really make it a joke, if it's by radio frequency singles, he's in the bottom of a parking garage. I want to be on the Dracula phone network if that's how good the signal is.
Yeah. Well, hey man, all you need to do is drink blood.
But what I'm saying is there a way to section him off so that he can't signal to anything else? Because you don't know really what's going on with that. Because we saw that when he's outside of the coffin, he could lure that guy in without him even being affected. But inside the coffin, could he even make those noises and do that thing? Because everything he's done has been when he's outside the coffin. Does the coffin seal him away from everything else?
Silver would be, I would imagine, just with vampire.
But why would he seal himself in a silver coffin?
Maybe it's
to get away from the entire thing.
But we don't know that there's any silver in this coffin.
Untrackable. If let's say Abraham has some kind of way to discern where he is based on that sort of tracking method. Or I wonder if there's like, if it is electromagnetic, would an EMP do anything?
Well, let's talk about Abraham, right? He's still in jail, and his lawyer comes to see him, but it's not his lawyer at all. It's
Bobby
Eichhorst.
Moynihan lets him out.
It's not Bobby Moynihan.
This cop looks like Bobby Moynihan to me.
And he sees him, and he just stops dead in his tracks. And we learn that Eichhorst was one of the guards or one of his torturers, one of the Nazis at the concentration camp that Abraham was in, I assume, as a child. And
this got Matt so excited because you were thinking about your Nazi theory from last time.
I have a theory.
Share the theory because it's so cool.
I'm so excited with it. Okay, so we know that Abraham was at this
this concentration camp,
building off of the idea.
Treblinka, maybe, I think.
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember the concentration camp.
Not sure.
But building off of the idea that like maybe the Nazis were all working for Dracula, working for the vampires as like an empire of like the master race. What if the reason that they were eradicating the Jews was because there's something in Jewish genes, like Tay-Sachs, like
some
Tay-Sachs
kind of
disease
recessive gene.
Yeah, Tay-Sachs disease is something that can only be carried through if two Jews of a certain both have the gene have a baby together. What if the immunity is similar, and that Jews
immunity to vampirism?
Yeah. What if it is only carried by Jews, and that's why they all had to be eradicated?
I want to build on that, but I also want to take away from that a bit. I don't think it's going to be immunity because of Sudri or whatever he said her name was, the woman's name.
His wife.
His wife. I don't think it's immunity because I think they can still be.
He didn't say
infected.
his wife's name. The name that he said.
The name of the heart.
Sargia is not his wife. Sargia is the name of the human name of the master vampire.
Yeah, Sargia was somebody killed. That's whose sword he was using.
That's the sword.
Oh, Sudri,
and so
okay.
she doesn't have. We haven't had.
So
her
the
name
sword used to belong to the master.
to Sargia. Yeah.
Okay,
and
but
she was being tortured, so.
I know, but it shows her heart's infected, so I don't think it's going to be that. But I do think that it has something to do with if we're going into Dracula, we're going into Van Helsing and things like that. I do think that it could have been just a blanket kill everyone so we can get rid of this bloodline of the vampire hunters.
Maybe, but I just want to. First of all, we don't know that Abraham's wife or person that he loved was Jewish. I mean, granted, back in the day, Jews married Jews. There wasn't really a ton of.
And if it was, just to defend my theory a little bit, if it was similar to the way the Tay-Sachs works, it doesn't just if it's one carrier and one person that doesn't have it, it's not going to carry through. It only happens if two carriers have a kid together.
But
so it would be very
carriers
rare.
Are only Jews.
Yeah, but it would be very rare. But if Jews are the only ones capable of it, if you wipe them out, then nobody would be able to be immune.
Yeah.
I think, okay, well, I'm going to put my prediction on as I think that it's probably.
Put it on the table. Let's see whose theory's bigger.
Yeah, let's compare theories, Zach.
Oh,
no,
God.
I think that it's. I don't think it's going to be a genetic thing. I think it's probably going to be like a secret sect thing that to wipe everyone out, they have to just wipe.
Secret sex thing?
Sect. No, I'm not talking about strange, Matt.
If it's a secret organization that happens to be Jewish, they have to just blanket it to cover up the real reason.
Well, the reason I also say that is because of if they can go deeper into like Egyptian history and things like that with all of the rich Jewish history they have, there's lots and lots of like stories of very, very secretive not clubs, but groups of people through in the sect of Judaism. So I think that might be a little bit more on point with that.
Also,
but then like the finger when he's like,
and you hear the glass like cracking almost just a little bit. I thought the glass was going to shatter. But here's another thing, right? Jews have been persecuted all throughout history for generations and generations and generations.
Why do you think everyone's trying to kill us all the time?
Exactly. So what if vampires have been all of these? Vampires were in charge of the Egyptian Empire. Vampires were involved in the Romans and the Greeks. And everybody who has ever tried to wipe out the Jews has been run by vampires.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited by this.
I do love this.
But like, it just finally our Hebrew school training is coming into use. I learned all this history. It doesn't mean anything. No, it does.
Matt and Zach are Jewish superheroes.
Yes, it's true. We're gonna fight vampires and we're gonna save the world.
The Nile ran red with blood.
Yeah, and they drank it. Delicious. All right, we're introduced to a brand new character this week in the form of Vasiliy, played by often villain Kevin Durand. For the first time, he's a hero. He's a good guy.
There's a lot of this in the
There's a lot of that in this
Are
show.
you sure he's a good guy?
I feel like
I'm
he
sure
is.
he's a good guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of brings his own rat to a place to shut it down.
Because he doesn't want the people to be eating the rat poop food.
No.
He saw the rat urine.
That looked more like the vampire thing.
That was what? Just because they're both visible under black light?
Okay, he brought his own dead rat there. So I'm not.
I
thought he found that dead rat.
Pretty sure he found the dead rat in the oven thing that he reached out from.
Yeah.
I didn't see him like grab anything. So I thought I was with Stephen.
Yeah, I thought he brought it. Remember, he shows like the dead mouse, the cat. I thought he had his own dead rat that he brought to shut it down for his own personal reasons. He's Russian, I'm assuming. In this.
Yes, he is.
We don't really understand his character at all at this point. I'm not gonna say he's good. I'm not gonna say he's bad. I'm gonna say he's involved.
Yeah.
But
I think he's going to wind up being a useful partner in the fight against vampires because he's already got an arsenal of stuff. He's got UV lights. He's got an awesome stick that he can spin real fast, and he can capture people.
He definitely felt Van Helsing-ish, though.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
he's who Abraham's going to pass on his training to.
Yeah.
I agree with Matt.
Yeah, I think he's dope.
I'm saying
and he's going to be the coolest.
I think he's good. I'm just saying it's too early to say for sure.
Okay, fine. In any case, he shuts down the same restaurant that Gabe and Joan were at. I wonder if there's a connection there. Who knows? They may have been guided
or a good production value where they're like, we have to get this plot line here and this plot line here.
Yeah.
Well, so many people are interconnected in this. It's
true.
It's strange how interconnected they are. And now we have, not to cut to another topic, but we have, what's his name? Gus.
Yeah.
Going back to bring the clock back to
Abraham.
To Abraham. So that's going to connect those plot points again.
I wonder if Gus and Abraham are going to connect. Because Gus, if he doesn't get the stuff that he was promised from Stoneheart, he's got some pretty tasty information to share. And frankly, he's afraid of what he brought in that box. He is, because it was rumbling. It was rumbling like a Dracula.
I thought that Gus was gone. I thought the clock had run out on his life. I thought that at the top of this episode.
Okay, yeah.
And then, but like his development has sort of progressed to the point where I think he's going to be sticking around for a
The
little
reason
bit.
he's not dead is because there's still going to be use for him by them.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how Francis Capra was acting his heart out in this episode? He was like, I have this small role. I'm going to do everything I can with it.
I'm going to bite.
Who was down?
Yeah, I'm going to eat all the scenery.
You know what the thing was? He was acting big, but it wasn't overacting.
Right.
And I was like, you're doing a great job, Francis Capra, with this small role.
He's
I was
also
so
a
proud of
junkie
him.
in the
so
show.
proud of him.
Shoot it up your arms.
I feel like Gus is going to wind up working with Abraham.
Agreed.
When he brings back that clock, and then Crispin is going to wind up working with the vampires.
No, Crispin's going to get turned into a vampire because they're going to go to find.
Turned into.
They're going to go to find Gus to finish the job, and they're going to find Crispin.
And they're going to kill him.
They're going to turn him into a vampire. Well, into a thrall, not a vampire.
You guys have such great theories.
Well, because there's a difference. I guess we can agree that there's levels. There's worms.
Yeah.
And then there's thralls that are caused by the worms or the people who are dead and turn into vampires.
Right.
But don't turn into thralls. And then there's the people who are directly under Dracula who he himself turned into vampires, like not Palmer, but Eichhorst.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
potentially Palmer.
Yeah.
But do you think
Palmer
that if you've
wants
had-
it.
Well, potentially, like as we move forward.
let's. Oh, sorry. What's your point?
Do you think if you've had the parasite for long enough that you become evolved? That's my question, because you have people like Eichhorst who are like evolved vampire beings, and then the people who are first turned are just instinct based only.
There's always been a divide between the people who are turned by a master and the people who are turned by underlings. There's always been a caste divide in any vampire lore ever, and there's also lots of stories that talk about people who aren't infected by the master itself or close enough to the master that they go rampant and they don't have a mind, like they just become based on instinct alone, which is to go get blood. And I think that's what they're counting on, is they're spreading these people who are just going to go to get blood.
And that's what Gabe does when he, first of all, he has to snort up fake Viagra in order to have sex with these hotties, and then he sees her carotid artery just thumping through her neck, and he takes a big old bite, and then, these women have just had a very shocking and scarring experience. And
They came to an orgy with a guy who's like
Not an orgy, a gang bang.
He just
Okay.
wanted some
A
strange.
reverse gang bang.
They
Because
came-
usually a gang bang is on a woman versus.
Matt, we don't need to go into that.
I think orgy
Yeah.
is
They
appropriate.
came to
Alright,
some
fine.
sort of orgy.
Menage a
Okay.
trois.
And they know that this guy.
menage a cat. Menage a cat.
Oh.
They
it's
know
four.
they know that this guy is like basically the kind of musician who does things for show. Like he talked in the last episode about cutting himself in front of the people
Right.
and things like that. So I think they knew that they were getting themselves into some kind of
I know,
weird
but he just
shite.
bit. He just bit and-
Women like biting.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to
Okay,
break the
why
skin.
nobody asked me if women like biting.
Jackie, do women like biting?
Usually not.
Oh, well, there we go. In any case,
Light
he
nibbling,
doesn't seem to
guys.
question
Exact.
at all. When he's drinking the blood off the floor, he doesn't seem to be questioning at all why he's doing it. He's just doing it.
Ah, that was the best.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I
He
do.
was just like,
You brought up Gabe when I was talking about thralls and minions. Oh my god.
Ugh.
It sounds moist.
It does. That's what a mouth is.
Okay. Gabe is turned by the master though. Gabe is,
Yeah, he's turned by the master.
Gabe is going to be like Eckhurst.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were saying that he was like more just going for the blood. I think the people like Emma are the ones who are just out for blood
Do
from
you
anyone.
think that it's an intentional thing? Like he
Emma-
picked these
wait.
four?
Emma is
they
dead.
all had to
dead.
be turned by the master
They were-
because
yeah,
the
they were-
master was on the flight turning people.
Well, no, there's a difference between being turned by the master and being turned by worms. Being
But they
turned
all
by
had
a
the
master.
little
Yeah, but
slit
that
from
was
Dracula.
to kill them. The fact that they're survivors, it means they were turned differently than the people who were not survivors.
Right. We still don't know what makes them different, and I'm sure we will learn over time. But I think the point you're trying to make, Stephen, is that ultimately they will be two different classes of beings, and that they will never have the same level of intelligence or autonomy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Gabe has blood. The people who didn't have blood had white goo. They're different.
Yeah.
So here's my question, just for clarification. Did the people who were dead before, did they have the worms inside them?
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody.
Okay. Everybody
Yeah,
had
they
I
have
just wanted
tons
to
of
clarify.
worms. The difference between them is that they have just enough intelligence to return to their former lives,
Driven by love.
driven by love, but they spread the virus. You know, they spread it like a virus. You saw how they all swarmed on Bennett at the end of the first episode. Versus our four survivors, they have all of their intelligence and instead are hearing Dracula right in their heads.
So then, do you think that it was random? Like, it was just by biological reasons these four people happened to have survived? Or was it a conscious choice
What
by
if
the
they're
master?
Jewish?
They're the four most influential people on
We
the
do have
plane,
a lawyer,
arguably.
an entertainer,
a nerd and a pilot. Well,
I mean,
maybe not a pilot.
Maybe. Hey, what if they're Jewish? And that goes on your genetic thing.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe only Jews could be turned into that doesn't
But,
track.
okay, the virus incubates differently with blood involved. Let's put it that way. How about we say it in that way?
Yeah,
They have
they are
blood, so the
definitely
virus is affecting them
different.
differently than people who don't have blood.
could be blood types.
We have a tweet from Javier Gonzalez at Javi201330. I was getting more Nosferatu vibes from the Master guy, which I'm
Yes.
hoping for because I'm kind of tired of Dracula stuff. That's true. We've been calling him Dracula this whole time, but when we see just a glimpse of him as he takes his hood off from behind, he looks a lot more like Nosferatu.
We were
He's got
all saying it,
long,
yeah.
spindly
Yes.
fingers. He's bald. He's got the big ears.
Little bat boy ears.
Yeah, very Nosferatu-esque.
I'm
does.
so stoked for some Bram Stoker vampiresque.
Yeah.
Killing it. Their eyes were turning redder though, and if you remember, like old story vampirism was they can control people with red eyes. So I'm looking forward
Okay.
to everything
Again,
that's going
very,
on.
very cool. What else do we have to talk about? So we have to talk about Palmer at Stoneheart. He's still got his buddy, his thrall, if you will, who's taking care of him, trying to get him a fresh liver.
He's a butler. Don't call.
He's
don't
not a
call,
butler.
Don't call the African American butler a thrall.
I don't think he's a butler. I think he's a personal assistant.
Yeah, like I mean,
Who
even
owes
then,
him everything.
Don't call him a thrall.
I mean, he does everything the guy wants and helps capture
But he
people
gets
to
paid
harvest their
for it.
organs.
He gets paid for it.
We don't know that. Well, I mean, I assume he's
I'm
getting
assuming
paid.
he's getting paid very
Yes,
well.
I know. But he loves this guy. It's unconditional love, you know. And we also now know why the room is so cold to prevent his disease from
to
accelerating.
prevent from getting a disease.
Yeah,
prevent
it
from
sounds
getting a
like
disease.
he's got some liver
Issues,
failure,
liver
but,
failure
but I don't
issues.
think he's sick. I think he's just immunocompromised.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we now know confirmed the reason why he brought the Master to New York is so that he could turn him into a vampire. vampire, but upon seeing the master, I think he realizes he made a huge mistake.
I think it can be taken two ways though, because it can either be he was terrified or he was so in awe of the glory of his master.
He looked more pooping my pants terrified.
He did look a little pooping my pants terrified.
Yeah, do we want
Shice in my trousers terrified.
to read some of these comments off the chat room?
I'm just seeing if they're anything. It looks like it's all True Blood.
Okay.
You know, the lesser vampire show, guys?
Yeah.
The one that's not
that
as good.
weird one with all the banging. Who
And
cares?
6-packs? Who needs 6-packs?
Yeah.
Sex. We
Not
want
me, Zach, or Matt.
We
Okay.
want tongues shooting into necks with spikes, not licking necks.
Let's talk about that. So Emma's pop comes up to see her in her bath in the dark. He's like, "Oh, you turned out the lights. That's so weird. Oh, honey, the water's cold. Let me get you out of there." And she
Why is the water milky white, by the way?
massive. Well, so that to
Settled
hide.
bubble bath?
No, it's to hide her naked child body. Okay, it's a production
Oatmeal
thing.
bath?
I know
But
that.
yeah, it might also be some sort of like oatmeal bath or bath
No,
that.
well, soap makes
Okay,
water
but
cloudy.
the reason I'm saying that, sorry, I don't want to sound like a pervert saying to hide her child naked body, Matt. I'm saying, is it because of her
How does that
blood?
make me a pervert?
Is it because of her white blood?
Maybe
No,
it is.
Because it looked very similar, like in color, to her white blood.
I took
I don't
it as
think
like
she's
bubble bath
bleeding
that had
into the
settled.
tub. Yeah,
or
I don't think-
soap.
Can we just say though, we write bullet points or. Like Matt writes bullet points up on our thing here, and I like that he called her Emma the Foie Girl.
Yeah, because she's always cold. She's so foie, so close, so close, so close, and yet so foie.
Punja.
Yeah. So a giant like tongue hand thing is what I'm gonna officially call it, because when it wrapped around his throat, it looked almost like a 4-fingered hand.
It definitely felt like it was grabbing.
It likes to
Yeah.
lamprey upon people.
It's like a tongue claw situation.
Exactly, it's a tongue claw.
So alien-esque.
And she kills her dad, and he starts bleeding into the tub, and then she just starts sipping that blood soap water, because
Sipping
she's
that blood,
thirsty.
sipping that, sipping.
Don't waste
And that's
it.
the
Yeah.
same tongue hand claw situation that we saw in the worms.
Yes.
So
Was she sipping the blood water? It looked like it was just kind of floating towards her.
But then she started sipping it at the very end. It was floating towards her, and then it started getting drawn into her mouth.
That wasn't the sip. That you were just hearing the drip of the bath. I think.
Watch
I
it
thought it was
again.
sipping.
No, it's like it's flowing towards her, and then it flows a little bit faster because she's drawing it into her
Regardless,
mouth.
she was
okay.
drinking her dad's blood.
Yeah, creepy.
I mean, sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think it is time for predictions.
Did we do everything already?
Yeah, we covered everything, bro.
Now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right, so predictions, theories, what do we got going on? For those of you who don't want to hear anything about the scenes from next week or anything like that, you should probably tune out now, just because they are going to come up. We are going to talk about them.
If you
at
haven't
length.
tuned out 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So sorry. Goodbye. So scenes from next week. Obviously, we're going to be dealing with the disappearance of all these bodies. We saw what we thought was maybe the master, but is more likely Gabe, now transformed into more Nosferatu-ish.
'Cause we saw him losing hair during the orgy.
Exactly. And
You never want that at an orgy.
no, and Emma was losing it too. She was losing hair. And Papa pulled a strand off. It's like, oh, honey, you're losing hair. Let me get you out of the bath. You're so far. So far. Yeah, lots of stuff is going on. What are we thinking? And also, more theories. I love this Jewish theory, and it's not just because of Hebrew pride. I just think it's cool and specific.
The two Jews in the room, me and Matt, are just
Well,
like super
here's
excited.
what I want to know. Here's what I want to know.
And you got the same lineage
Is
going on.
Satrakian going to get out of jail on his own, or is F going to have to realize, hey, that guy knew stuff. Let me go talk to him before we get him off the sidelines? Because I'm tired of having him on the sidelines. I want him out fighting vampires
With his sword.
with his kick-ass sword.
Crispin is going to bail Satrakian out of jail with the
You mean
money
Gus?
they paid him. Yes, Gus is going to bail Satrakian out of jail with the money he was paid for by Stoneheart because of the
Interesting.
clock and things like that, because he wants to be square. Everything his character has been striving for so far has been to be square with the law. Just be square.
And because he's helping out, then Satrakian's going to give him like the gift of, I'm going to warn you about what's about to go down in this city.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, get out now.
Yeah, apparently it's going to be panic in the streets. Icor said that Abraham was safer in the jail than he would be on the street.
Yeah.
What episode do you think it'll be public in? Like, what episode until you see on the cameras, on news reporting on it, people getting bitten?
I don't think
13 episode season?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be until the end of the season, if that.
Yeah,
I feel like
think 12
We
or
have
13.
vampires out in the streets right now, so it's like there's going to be some sort of news having
Yeah,
to
like,
cover
isn't this
the fact
weird?
that there were morgue people that people
disappeared.
thought were dead that are now out on the street. I'm not giving, and this is like, I'm trying to tread the line between giving spoilers
No, I
and
know.
making a practical assessment. Like, we have people that have killed the guy who runs the morgue, and the morgue is empty.
It's gonna be like they're gonna show like an insert where they're like open a scene on a magazine rack, and it's gonna have like the Hollywood star like with somebody like, someone ate my neighbor, like that kind of thing, and it's gonna have a picture, and you're gonna be like, oh, and then nobody's gonna believe it or look at it.
I'm real excited for that. Like, I'm excited to see, because I understand why we need the exposition, but when you read the book, you already know all the exposition.
Yeah.
So this episode for me was more like, okay, it's, for the most part, it's
Setup.
stuff I already know. It's a setup. What I want to see is how they translate all the action scenes and all the things that happen action-wise into something visual.
Well, I mean, as you pointed out last week, it was always intended to be a TV series before it was a series of novels. So since there are only 3 novels, I'm wondering, does that encompass the entire series, or is that just kind of like the template and they intend to take the series far further? Also, with Carlton running the show and Guillermo not running the show, how much will it differ?
Do we know how much Guillermo del Toro is involved as we go forward? I know he helmed the first
Right.
episode.
Well, I have to imagine
Very
he's finishing.
involved.
Okay.
Really? Because he's finishing up Crimson Peak. He's preparing a whole bunch of Pacific Rim stuff, Pacific Rim 2, and a Pacific Rim TV series.
He did an interview, though, where he said that it's going to be pretty much close to the books,
Okay.
and there's going to be 5 seasons. And he's like, he wants it to run the trajectory of the books. My assumption would be, because he said the first season is the first book.
Okay.
So I would assume then you start to do what Game of Thrones did, which is split up the other books.
Okay. Fair enough.
So I think he wouldn't put somebody in charge of it with him that wouldn't be true to his vision.
Yeah.
So I think he's been in this business long enough to know and trust somebody well enough
And
to
especially because, as we talked about last week, it's the show, the books were written as like almost like a, well, I want to do a show, here's what it would be.
right. Okay.
I have one more theory to throw
One more
out.
theory,
Just a small
throw it
one.
out.
I think that Vasiliy is going to find some worms as he's going through his experiment.
Love it.
I don't think he knows about them. I think he's going to
Find them and be
out.
like, oh, what is that? Yeah, let me talk to the CDC, FDA, FBI, anybody. Or I'm just going to use my kick-ass cool stick. All right. Stephen, remind the people where they can find you.
You can find me at Matt's left hand right here. I'm like right next to his. No, you can find me on Twitter at Stephen Lemieux, StephenLemieux. Go ahead and tweet at us. Go ahead and give us shout-outs on iTunes. Rate us 5 stars. And if anyone knows how to get in contact with Guillermo's publicist or anything like that, send us that information. DM me on Twitter because I want to get him on the show.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Or Carlton Hughes.
yeah.
Zach Wilson.
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @ZachWilson, ThatZachWilson. And also here at AfterBuzz, I'm doing Dominion. And right after this, The Leftovers.
Okay, Jacque Borowski.
You can find me at 123Jackie_B on Twitter and at 123JackieB, all one word, on Instagram.
Yes, and you can also find us together on the Under the Dome podcast
True.
on Tuesdays. Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Matt Lieberman, MattLieberman. You can find all of my videos for SourceFed and SourceFed Nerd on YouTube, and you can find me here on the Halt and Catch Fire podcast, Under the Dome podcast, Defiance podcast, and the Marin podcast. Oh, and Ray Donovan. Thank you guys so much. See you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Bye. See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.